But I had the privilege of sitting down with Rick over a cup of coffee a couple of weeks ago as he began to share a story that happened while I was on sabbatical. In fact, it was one of the few things that I heard about. I heard a little glimpse of it while I was on sabbatical. So will you welcome Rick and Shealagh? So for those who don't know you guys, how did you guys get to Grace Fishers and how long have you been here?
So we've been at Grace Fishers for almost 9 years. We had been at a different church and really just felt God calling us to a closer relationship with him, and we weren't able to find it through that church. So we were sort of new to Indiana still at this point, and we had just met a handful of people that were all in different areas of our lives, and there was just something different about them, and the only connecting factor was that they all went to Grace Church. So we tried it.
Cool.
And we loved it.
And you guys have been here for 9 years, and then so that's just a little background, but Rick, something happened a few months ago, and maybe kind of give us a little background on what happened.
Yeah, so thank you. I'm a little nervous up here. First, I do want to say I'm free with the mic, right? Joey and Rob have said that, so I can do what I want. But I want to thank all my brothers and sisters, everybody who's out there that prayed for me during that time. I don't want to be up here and forget that. So I got into mountain biking. You can see on the slide, those are my sons. They're big into mountain biking, so I joined them last October, bought a bike and started riding. So 2 months ago, I was on a trail in Anderson, not with my sons, but with somebody else, and I went off something called the pier. It's about a 5 to 6 foot launch. I wasn't ready for it. And so I went off the pier, and it ended very badly. I crashed pretty severely. I laid on the ground. I knew I was broken, and so the guy I was with just told him to call for help, call 911. And in the moment, and I thought about this. I wasn't going to say this, but with Kevin saying we need somebody to motivate us, he looked at me and said, "Get up, we need to go." So we're in the middle of the woods. So we did, and I did. I stood up. Still don't know how, but I stood up and I walked out. And there was a moment that in the woods, there was an area that we walked into, and there's 5 trailheads, and we didn't know where to go. So we're kind of lost, no cell phone service. And he got a hold of somebody that he knew and knew which path to put us on. And so got us on that path. And I didn't know this either, but the same person he called immediately came to us and just jumped in the car. Are you there? Okay. Jumped in the car, jumped in the truck.
Connor, their son, is running audio, so I don't know. Maybe he was like, maybe he wanted, it's like, Dad, that's enough.
Time to wrap it up, right?
I know my kids wish they had audio control at home for me. Like, Dad, we don't need another story. Anyway, sorry.
No, it's good. But jumped in the car and immediately came. And as I'm walking out, lumbering out, they came running down the trail to meet us. So after that, I don't know if you want me to keep going here.
Yeah, keep going.
So we end up taking an ambulance to the hospital. I broke my collarbone, 8 ribs, punctured a lung, and I broke my thumb. And it was a humbling experience, just to go from being able to do something to not being able to do anything. Couldn't even lift my head in the hospital. Spent 11 days in the hospital, was full of ups and downs and almost and challenges. And I'd be happy if this stirs anything in anybody that you want to have a conversation, I'd be happy to share in more detail. Kevin and I talked for a couple hours. So, yeah.
In the midst of that hospital stay in particular, well, you saw God's faithfulness from the moment you were walking up the trail, but you guys both experienced God's faithfulness there in the hospital and all of the events surrounding him in the recovery, and you guys can both answer what that looked like.
Sure. So it was hard. It was a hard thing to go through. It was scary. There were some setbacks and some moments that we weren't sure he was going to make it. I was going to make it through without crying.
It's okay.
But I think what stood out so much to both of us was how our Grace Fishers family just showed up. Mm-hmm. I'm not great at asking for help, and I'm not great at accepting help, but no one asked us, what do you need? They just showed up and did it. And the days that were the hardest and we were at our worst, we were never alone. There was always someone or multiple people there crying with us, praying with us, helping us to laugh at times that we really needed to laugh. And I walked out of the pre-op room from Rick's first surgery, and a woman from my women's group was just sitting in the waiting room with a bag of snacks. She didn't ask to come, she was just there, and she sat with me. And I think that really is what carried us through. I've said this before, I don't think I've ever felt as loved in my entire life as I have felt the last 2 months.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that and say the same thing. Just the community we felt in all those moments. You know, there was times when it hurt me to laugh. I mean, it did for weeks, a month. It hurt me to laugh, but we're laughing in the hospital. You know, we had the people around us supporting us and just bringing love and bringing joy. And there was a couple moments that we were alone in the hospital room, and I'm not an emotional person, but I'm weeping because I feel God's presence and His love through all of those people. And the amount of prayers, I could feel the prayers, and it was just really impactful.
So you guys experienced an incredible sense of community and people coming around you. That was partly the result of some decisions that you had made earlier. You know, I don't know how long it took you guys to get involved, but what are some of those decisions as you guys look back that you say, I'm glad we did this because it resulted in a different kind of connection here at Grace Fishers?
So really just getting involved. I think for my first step was women's group. That felt safe, I guess, not as intimidating. But once I got here and the more I was involved, the more I wanted to be. So it took a little bit because, you know, everyone feels like life is full, right? No one has time for one more thing. But so it did take a minute before I signed up to volunteer. But I'm so grateful that we did. I think when I originally signed up, I volunteer at the info desk. And when I originally signed up because the church needed help, right? I'm volunteering to help the church. But what I didn't realize was how much I would get out of it, just from the connections and being here. And I mean, I told Kevin this morning, one of my favorite things to do is stand at the info desk and watch everyone walk in, because there's just genuine joy and love and hugs and laughter, and people are just happy to be here and happy to see each other. And I am just really grateful that I get to be a part of that.
Yeah, and I'm a typical male that doesn't get involved. You know, I'm good. I can come on Sunday and it's fine. But it was years ago that I came to a men's group, started there, and then after that it was when we launched as an independent church. And I remember, you know, Shealagh and I were sitting up there, and Joey was, you know, up here, you know, saying, if you feel led, there's a card, fill out the card, fill out the card. And it was just this repetitive that I just felt God, tugging at my heart and saying, okay, this is the time, and we need to do it. So we did it. So I volunteer also at the info desk and then the security station. But, you know, that's part of it, but it's also men's groups. It's just getting to know your neighbor, just saying hi to somebody, and just the longer you're here, and that's anywhere. You know, the longer you're here, the longer you're seeing, the more you know people. So my encouragement and what made this whole event so much easier is that we stepped in a long time ago. You know, if we did that 3 months ago, it wouldn't have been the same for us. So we got to get through that, and maybe we would have gotten through that anyways, but we got to get through that easily, or not, I shouldn't say easily, but supported. So if there's something that you're waiting for, do it now.
Final word, any last thoughts, just as you guys think about your story and have you seen God show up, or maybe there's something else you want to say to people here at Grace Fishers?
I'd like to thank all of them,
Okay.
Just long list.
Yeah, well, you can name names if you want.
Well, I couldn't. I'd forget somebody,
Yeah.
and that's why I'm not going
Okay.
to. But no, just so many. And I see them all here, and a lot of them I ride with, and, thank you.
Well, would you thank Rick and Shealagh for joining us on stage this morning?